welcome to CEC lectures. Myself Preeti Jagwani. I am from Department of Computer Science, Arabic College, University of Delhi. So in our previous lectures of the series Introduction to Programming using C++, we have seen we are currently going for operator overloading, and we have seen the basics of operator overloading, and in the previous lectures we have also seen in order to recap the previous lecture and built in the platform for this particular, let me recap it in a nutshell that we have used operator overloading as a mechanism of performing compile time polymorphism in C++, and we have completed our function overloading, and within the operator overloading we have seen what actually operator overloading is. So operator overloading is basically kind of performing a or let the operators perform a different kind of function for the standard, not for the standard built-in data types, but for the user defined data types. And as operator overloading we are talking about, so operator overloading can be for unary operators or it can be for binary operators. In case of unary operators, we have seen how can this increment operator, which is whose symbol is plus plus, can be used for can be used in the prefix form, and for the postfix form what are the nitty-gritties or what tweaking can be done, that is also being taken care in the previous lecture. So here let me start with a complete program in which we are actually using the two versions of this overloaded operator plus plus or increment operator. One is a prefix version, another one is a postfix version. So I am taking that similar class in which we have already seen the prefix version, and here we will be taking both the versions. So one class count in which there is only one private variable named as value. Then there is a constructor to initialize count to, let's say, 5 or any random value you can give, and then there is an overloaded operator which is being used as a prefix. So that syntax is void operator plus plus, no parameters, and within the code we are going to write that it is going to give us, or it is going to perform an operation of plus plus value or incrementing value. Now this was actually the we can say the version in whenever this unary operator increment plus plus operator is being used as a prefix. Whenever we are going to use that plus plus as the postfix operator, what we need to do is void operator plus plus, that's the common syntax which we have used in the overloading. So void is the return type, we are not returning anything, so void operator is the keyword, plus plus is the symbol of the operator which we are overloading. Now coming to the parenthesis list, in the prefix version there was no parenthesis, in the postfix version no parameters inside the parenthesis. In the postfix version there is a parameter which is of type integer. This is just to show that this is going to be a postfix version, this is not a function parameter. I am repeating it again, this integer value is not the function parameter. This is just to ensure that this definition of the plus plus operator or the overloaded plus plus operator will be used whenever there is an call to the postfix version of the increment operator. So void operator plus plus then integer, and within that kind of function, as earlier we have performed prefix increment plus plus value, here we are performing an postfix increment which is value plus plus, and the similar display function through which we are using the through which we are displaying the value of the variable value of the function of the class count. Now here inside the main, if you can see, we have taken only one variable or one object of the class count, which is count1, then count1 plus plus, that means the postfix version of the operator is being called, and then we have displayed it, and after being displayed we have again called the prefix version by plus plus count1, and then we have displayed it. So the main function goes like this: one object creation, then call to the postfix version of the operator, display, then call to the prefix version of the operator, and then display, followed by a normal standard return 0. So initially the count1 is going to say the value of the variable as 5. After this plus plus in call in the postfix version, it will become 6, and onto that 6 we are again calling one prefix version of plus plus, which will make it from 6 to 7, and hence we are going to get the desired output, that from 5 it will be taken to 6 by postfix version, and then from 6 it will be taken to 7 using the prefix version. So this was actually an example when we have used plus plus both as prefix and postfix. So prefix is fine, postfix is fine, but now here is a glitch. Here is a glitch in the sense it is not going to work if we are going to take it as result is equals to plus plus count1 or result is equals to count plus plus, because this and this result is also a variable of the class count. Now why it is not working? Because of the simple reason, whenever I am saying there are two objects of the class count, one is count1, another one is result, and in the second line I am saying result is equals to plus plus count1. That means whenever or wherever I am overloading that plus plus operator in its prefix version, I need to modify that in a way that the return type should be of object of this class count. Return type should not be void. So in the earlier versions, please remember the program which we have seen, both the kind of prefix version and the postfix version, if you can see on the screen, here is the prefix version which is going to give me the return type as void, and here is the postfix version which is also giving me the return type as void. So none of them is going to return an object of the class count. So and just because of this simple reason, we cannot say result is equals to plus plus count. This is just because the return type of the operator function is void. Now here is a problem, then that means we need to look for a solution. So we have a simple solution. We need to modify our code in such a manner that we need to make this count as the return type of the operator function instead of void. So how we can do that? Let's see here. So whenever I am using this plus plus as an kind of prefix, we can write the code and we will say count operator plus plus, and then there is a code which says plus plus value. That's okay. But here instead of void, we have written the object as count, and then in the postfix version also, instead of writing void as the return type, we have written the return type as the object of the class, which is count. So count operator plus plus plain parenthesis or empty parenthesis for the prefix version, and count operator plus plus integer as the integer within the bracket will be used for the postfix version. So with this background, let us try to see a complete program which is going to give us the return type of the overloaded operator function as the object of the class count. So here we have that class count integer value private, and then within the public section we have one constructor which is initializing 5 as the value of the private variable value. Whenever I am using prefix version, I will say count operator plus plus. And now please notice that within the code I have taken count temp. So one more I can say object of the class is being taken as the temporary object, which will be returned to the calling function or which will be returned to the main function. So here value is the value attribute of the calling object. So here we can say temp dot value is equals to plus plus value. That means the one who is calling, for example, I am writing plus plus C1. So object C1 is calling this overloaded operator plus plus or overloaded prefix operator. So whenever I am talking about the term as only value, that means I am talking about the value as the data member of C1 and here. So basically value is the data member of the calling object. So plus plus value, this increment is incremented value will be assigned to the value attribute of the object temp, which is of the object of class count. So for count we have created one temp and temp dot value is equals to plus plus value. I hope you have understood this piece of code, and as we have seen that we are returning the object of the type count, we are returning temp here. So temp is the object of type count. Now coming to whenever we are using the operator or whenever we are overloading plus plus, when it is to be used as in its postfix version, what changes we are going to give or what changes we are going to do in the code. So this is count operator plus plus int, and the significance of this int has already been explained in the lecture previously. Then again there is a temporary variable of type count, basically an object of type object of class count, which is to be returned, and again the similar thing, value plus plus is temp dot value is equals to value plus plus. So what this statement is doing, this statement is actually taking the value of the calling object. So for example, I am saying result is equals to C2 plus plus. So here this value attribute is belonging to that variable C2, which is calling the overloaded function plus plus. So value plus plus, and whatever value of this is, whatever kind of assignment it is going to have, this will be assigned to the value attribute of the temp object. So a temporary object, and within the temporary object we have one variable value in which the incremented value of the attribute of the calling object has been assigned, and then we will say return temp because we need to return the an object, and then the usual display function by saying cout the value of count or count is equals to value, we can simply say. So coming to the main function, if you can see, now we have taken two objects of the same class count. One is count1 and another one is result. So whenever I am saying result is equals to plus plus count1, so that means within the within the overloaded functions, the value which was being returned plus plus value, that value as an attribute belongs to count1, and the incremented option is being stored in the temp dot count, which temp dot value which was returned there, and finally it is being assigned to the result. And along with the result we are taking one member function which is named as display in order to show the value. And whenever I am saying, again the next version, which is the prefix version, which is the postfix version. So postfix version, whenever I am talking about count 1 plus plus, it is taking the value of the count 1 and incrementing it and giving it to the another object, which is result, and along with the result you are going to display. Now let us try to guess the output of this particular code. So whenever I am saying plus plus count 1, and that has been given to the result, and after kind of applying this plus plus count 1, we are again applying count 1 plus plus onto that. So as expected, our result should be there, and the result could be kind of what I mean. Let's try to see that whether we are going to have, after initializing the value of count as 5, do we have here what values, 6 or 7 or 6 6, or what kind of values we are going to have. That can be this working can be easily verified with the help of any kind of working machine, and then you will be able to understand that what kind of functionality this is having, and whether it is the kind of overloaded operator is working in the decided manner or in the expected manner whenever we are using the operator, overloaded operator, in its prefix manner and in its postfix version. But one thing which you have noticed is that the code for postfix and prefix operator overloading is similar, except that int variable inside the parenthesis there is no other difference. That means what is being actually happening is it is going to create an object temp and returning its value to the operator function. So this is what is actually happening in the postfix version as well as in the prefix versions as well. And whenever I am using the prefix version of the operator, overloaded operator, and whenever I am saying temp dot value is equals to plus plus value, that means this variable value is belonging to the count1 object in the main function, because count1 object is actually calling the function, while the temp dot value is belonging to temp dot object. That is something which we need to be kind of very clear here in order to understand the whole program. Now you can verify the results by compiling this program. Coming up to the what we have done till now, in order to sum up, if we can see, we have seen in the previous lecture we have seen how a prefix version of a unary operator can be used. In this lecture we have seen how a postfix version of the unary operator can be seen, and another kind of, we can say, tweaking which we have done in our program is, within the prefix and postfix version when performed, we were just kind of returning the type void. So that means the object which is being returned as the incremented object, that cannot be stored in any other object, because there was no return type defined by the overloaded operator function. So we have tweaked our code a bit, and then we modified the code in order to return the object of the class type count, and this kind of coding we have seen till now. Now with this establishment of kind of fundamentals of operator overloading, as we have seen the unary operator complete, we are here to kind of we need to remember some points in case of whenever we are talking about operator overloading, and these points are as follows. So, first point says there are two operators, one is initialization operator and another one is an ampersand operator. These are already overloaded by default in C++. So, for example, whenever I am talking about copying the objects of the same class, we can directly use is equals to operator. For example, I am having count and C1 and C2. So, count is the class and C1 and C2 are the two variables. So, I can directly say C1 is equals to C2. So, that means this plus operator has been overloaded for the objects of the classes as well, and this is one version of this is equals to operator is, for example, if we can say x is equals to 7 or x is equals to y. So, in case of x is equals to y, it is working fine for the kind of normal atomic data types, I can say, and whenever I am saying C1 is equals to C2, C1 and C2 being the objects, and it is also copying the objects of the same class. So, for that purpose we can also use directly is equals to operator. So, for this is equals to operator, we need not to create an operator function because this has been already overloaded by default in a C++. Now, whenever I am talking about operators, the two things which are closely associated with operators is, one is precedence, another one is associativity. So, please remember, your operator overloading cannot change the precedence and associativity of the operators. Even if you are using the overloaded operators, the precedence and associativity of the operators will be same. However, if we want to change the order of evaluation, parenthesis can be used, but that's a normal kind of that's a normal convention. That means whenever we are going to, or whenever we are trying to change the order of evaluation, we want this portion of the expression to be evaluated first rather than this portion. We are going to use parenthesis. We will include that particular portion which we want to be executed early in parentheses. That's a normal convention. So, precedence and associativity of operators will not be changed with operator overloading, but yes, if we want to change the order of evaluation, we must use parentheses. Now, as I have told you earlier, that the operators which can be overloaded are either only the unary operators or the binary operators. That means the ternary operator cannot be overloaded, and not only the ternary operator, there are some other operators which cannot be overloaded, and the list is double colon, which is the scope resolution operator. You cannot overload the scope resolution operator. Then dot operator, which is a member selection operator, you cannot overload that as well. Then dot and asterisk, which is a member selection through a pointer to a function. So, that operator also cannot be overloaded. Ternary operator, I have already told you, can't be overloaded, and similarly the size of operator. So, scope resolution operator, member selection through pointer to function, ternary operator and size of operator, all these operators cannot be overloaded. So, these points we need to be careful with, or we need to sum up, we need to keep in our mind whenever we are using operator overloading. Apart from this, there are a couple of other points that for operator overloading, as I have told you, either we can use this overloaded operator either as a friend function, or we can say a normal member function. So, for operator overloading to work, at least one of the operands must be the object of that particular class, or we can say in order to work with operator overloading, at least one of the operands must be a user defined class object. So, till this point we have seen the operator overloading only with the objects, not with the structure. Also, we cannot use friend function to overload certain operators. There is a list of operators in which for which we cannot use friend function in order to overload them. However, the member functions can be used to overload those operators. There is a separate list of these operators, and obviously yes, we will be taking that list, or we will be trying to explore that list in our upcoming lectures. Apart from this, we need to be careful when we are talking about unary operators and binary operators. So, when unary operators are overloaded through a member function that takes no explicit argument, but if they are overloaded by a friend function, they takes one argument. So, the example here is, we have seen one overloaded version of an increment operator in its prefix version. So, that means this unary operator is being overloaded with the member function, for which we have seen the code in the detail as well. So, that was taking no explicit argument. Presently I am not talking about the postfix version. Postfix version we will be covering in the later details. So, but if this prefix version is to be overloaded using a friend function, that friend function overloading is going to take one argument. That's a slight difference which we need to take care of whenever we are talking about overloading through the member functions or overloading using our friend functions. So, in this lecture we have seen how to use the postfix version of the operator, unary increment operator, which is plus plus. Then we have seen that how to have a return type instead of void whenever I am talking about overloading function, and then we have seen some nitty-gritties or some points to remember whenever we are using operator overloading. So, hope you had a fruitful learning, and this is actually a list of references which is being used in order to prepare the lecture. Thank you for a patient hearing.